beautiful Mansfield, Connecticut. Just down the road from the University of Connecticut at Storrs. You can see in these scenes a bucolic, relaxing place to take the family for a picnic and stroll and see the wonderful dairy bar, beautiful university, and while you're at it, if you're in the area of the depot campus, the remains of a insane asylum. That's maybe a little bit harsh, but it really was what the people who built it thought it was. Now you can see right at the top of this building here, the year 1919. So we're talking about an institution that was set up right around the 1900s. And as I said, this is now the depot campus for University of Connecticut. In this particular area, right off Route 44, where we're at, there's a loose collection of buildings. Some of them are abandoned, some of them are in use by UConn. In fact, if you look over here, you can see a little brand spanking new building over here. And next to it, the ruins of what was has to be an embarrassment for the state. In much the same way that the Lad School, although that was an extreme example, in much the same way that the Lad School was for Rhode Island. So the story essentially is, this school existed right around the 1900s, 1907 it was established and built up over time. But initially it was a school for, quote-unquote, a school, a place where people who suffer from epilepsy could be treated. They had live-in doctors, they had live-in staff, and the patients, of course, would spend the bulk of their time needing constant treatment. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my sleeve, it's very hot today. And right around 1916, it was decided that the state wanted to put all their eggs in one basket. So there was a school in Lakeville, it was the Connecticut School for the Feeble-Minded. Essentially, they cared for people who suffered from mental retardation. They decided that they're going to merge the two schools together. Might as well, maximize the number of patients that each doctor could see. And so this site was selected as the place where this new school would be housed. And it became known in 1917 as the Mansfield Training School for the Feeble-Minded. You remember the Lad School was formerly known as the Exeter School for the Feeble-Minded. So it has a lot in common with the Joseph P. Ladd Center or School, whatever they want to call it. So at the time of the facilities merging, I should say that this entire idea was meant to be a self-supporting colony. You can see we're literally going to walk past building after building, all abandoned, which belonged to this group of part of this institution, I should say. And it was thought that this would be a colony of patients. Essentially, there was a part of it was set aside for farming, for trade, and that they would be self-supporting, and they would learn, as part of their therapy, they would learn, how to execute and perform skills. In 1916, when the facilities merged together, there was a total of 400 patients who lived here, and those that were mentally retarded and those that suffered from epilepsy were just combined together and pushed together into the same, into the same living facilities, only separated by sex. Men lived in their dorms, females lived in their dorms. Let's see if you can see anything here. Look at that. Seeing reflection. And so it stayed that way all the way until 1993, when the facility was shut down. And this is, again, very similar to what happened with the Lad School, in the sense that, take a back look at this building, every now and then you can see some of the old equipment. And we have some great photographs of the insides of some of the buildings, just taken from the windows. So this facility shut down in 93. There were a number of lawsuits brought against the institution, and they decided to close. And buildings, 93, it's right around the time, I was in college, and grad school, and the buildings had sat abandoned, and it was really only towards the end of my academic career in school, that is, that this depot campus had been let out. So some of these buildings have been abandoned for perhaps 20 years, at least 20 years. Well, almost 20 years, we should say. Look at the overgrowth here. Now, there are a number of periods of growth for this facility, much like the lad school. The lad school started off as a very, humble, small community, and over time it increased in the number of patients, and what really killed it was the overextension. There were too many patients for the number of doctors. There were 3 growth phases for this Mansfield Training School, and I think I see a police officer there. I wonder if he's going to make sure I'm not going to enter the buildings. Possibly. 3 growth phases. One was post-World War I, one was 1930s, and the other one was about 1950. Maximum capacity for the training school was 700 patients. This was substantially less than what happened with LAD. The buildings remain. Now, you'll see these tractor trailers here. They are blocking one of the more prominent buildings, and we're not going to really get that close to it. It's a really big building. We're going to go behind it. This is the night hospital, built in 1930. Previous to this, they had an infirmary in one of the buildings, and of course, being an abandoned, mental hospital, this place has garnered a number of ghost hunters or the curious, and there's a lot of vandalism, and it's rather dangerous to walk around inside of one of these really old buildings. Some of them haven't been inspected for 30 years or more. So of course the hospital would be a place that people would congregate to. So let me just show you these tractor trailers here. They're just blocking the entrance to the place. And the side buildings here you see, these are all extensions of the hospital. The hospital's a really big, almost T-shaped building. I'll show you some of the creepier features here. We're not ghost hunting, I just set that straight. I find that these type of places have tremendous historical interest to me. If you get closer, you can see the night up here at the top there. It's a very pretty building. It's just overgrown. You can also see the tractor trailers. Excuse me, there's a bug. Which are literally lined up right up to the entrance to block it. Now, I don't see any signs for no trespassing in this particular spot, so I'm just going to walk right up to the front door here, and you'll see one of the more famous buildings here. And they go all the way up. Should have been an architecture major, I can tell you more. Very Grecian. In fact, the people who built this place, very well renowned. Cudworth and Woodworth out of Norwich were the principal architects, and had a sizable reputation here. And you can see that they keep out signs. This, of course, being a popular attraction here. Now, you can see the chains. Nobody's entering this place. But we'll hold it up to the door. You can see what's inside there. If you can't see that, then we have some great pictures taken out of there. This was the hospital, and of course you can imagine some of the stories that would come out of the hospital. But these tractor trailers are here to block any access to that. There's several other side entrances here which are just overgrown. For example, down in there. We're not going to go through there. This is all part of the hospital right here. Now we're going to walk along the main road, and you can see the road that we're going to traverse is really dated. You can tell by the stone wall that's affixed there. Look at some of the older, more well-known buildings that were in place here. Now, this was a farm, and there's a farm road, which is, I believe, up in that direction towards the barracks, the dorms. You can see the dorms right splitting those trees there. They're one-story dorms, and mainly those were meant for the most serious patients who required the most care. So let's go and walk around. There's that car again. But we're not going into any buildings, so we don't have to worry about it. There's always that person who drives one of those Crown Victorias. Not that that looked like one, but there's always somebody who's driving that who I always think is a police officer. Okay, this again is more of the hospital here. It's really shaded, overgrown with trees. And we're going to walk along the back of it, and I'll show you some of the kind of the creepier things. You see some of it left behind. And one thing immediately point out is the rocks. Obviously, people get frustrated. They come here and they can't get in, so they decide to just break windows. So. Fortunately, we can't say much about the intelligence level of people. Do not come here to ghost hunt. In fact, it was individuals coming here at night to try to get into this building, looking for just that, who basically forced the state to board it up. So it's not particularly good for everybody, at least in the historical interest of it. If you're wanting to see what this place was all about, you're now at least, you can see the outside of it, unlike other places where you're completely forbidden to even enter the grounds. So again, you can see the broken glass, and I got some guys with baseball players here, good arms. Now I have these cages here, and first of all I thought it was some kind of filter system, but it looks like there were windows back here, just behind that screen. And I can think of no other, function other than a second layer of security. If somebody breaks through their window, there's these screens set up so that they can't open their window and crawl out. See that? There's windows down there. So, I can even see inside. Interesting. God knows what happened. I'm going to take a photograph, if you don't mind. Okay, so continuing on. Again, you see multiple layers of fencing here. Was this installed recently to keep people out or to keep people in? That's a good question. It's not one I can really answer. Almost looks like a drum, doesn't it? I have no idea. I'm walking around. Again, this hospital is extremely large. They're treating close to 700 patients, and there were a total of 75 buildings. And the